All right. This is a box set, as I said, from American Genre Film Archive in collaboration with Something Weird Video, from whom they sourced all the movies, and Vinegar Syndrome, the overarching distributor. And it's called Krazee Kidz Video Party. And crazy spelled Krazee, kids Kidz, Video Party. And it is a selection of what one of our writers, I think he didn't come up with this term, but he wrote an article for us about children's Grindhouse films, by which he means films that were made often by exploitation film directors to exploit the children's market with very, very low budgets, no special effects, kind of fantasy or fairy tale themes. They would try to use outrageous costuming and colorful sets to entice children to come to the matinee, where the kids would likely end up feeling a little cheated by what they saw. But the five movies here are, one is called The Big Bad Wolf, based on the fairy tale. The second is Fun in Balloonland, which is probably the most famous, one of the two most famous films in the set. It was done by Riff Tracks and gained some notoriety there. That is basically an advertisement for a parade balloon company that they tried to make into a little narrative for whatever reason. One called Polly Pockets, which I hadn't heard of, which is a unaired Kiddie TV show pilot. The Princess and the Magic Frog, another fairy tale based one. And then sort of the big outlier, I think, is the one we have the still from. It's called Kingdom of Crooked Mirrors, and it doesn't really fit in with the other ones because it is a Soviet movie. And it's a Soviet movie made for children, but it actually has a pretty good reputation and a high IMDb rating compared to the other ones. And it is in our reader suggestion queue. Kingdom of Crooked Mirrors. I'm guessing that none of us have ever seen any of these, or have we ever encountered any?
I have dodged all five of these bullets so far.
I haven't seen them either, but I am tremendously intrigued by this collection, and I really like the article that y'all have on the side on Children's Grindhouse Cinema. I think that's a great title for an article and a great, investigation into this type of work. And I would encourage people to go read that, the review. I would only add to it that the way that I suppose children's stories, fairy tales, or the way that fables work, using artifice as a way to of expressing deeper truths about life, maturing, social interactions, and things like that. And the artifice can come from any sort of feature like talking mice or enterprising pirates or even menacing wolves. But I think the reliance on the artifice, there's an art in that, and I think that there's perhaps something absent in these more Grindhouse ones, where it's just like, hey, we've got some blood and some creature makeup, from our other motion pictures. And so let's just give one for the kids without really understanding maybe what's supposed to be communicated. Now, I realize I'm probably being unfair not having seen all of these, and the one that you've got up seems to be the most thoughtful. But I'm just really intrigued by and can't help but speculate about what the audience is going to be for this collection. I'd like to get it myself, and I don't think it's to attach any sort of nostalgic feelings to it, but maybe just to see what this expressive looking cinema is. And as someone who works in some very low budgets, maybe even gleaming some ideas for something in future. Who do you think this audience is for?
It's not. I mean, it's not nostalgia, I don't think, because most of the people that were young enough to have seen these movies during childhood have passed away. They're very old. 1957 is the oldest one, And 1965 is the most recent one. I was born in 1968, and I feel old. These were way too big.
Yeah, that's back from a time when childhood was just some sort of vague psychic zone before you became an adult, before you were an individual, or before they really talked about, your sensibilities as a person. It was just like, we'll just project this for the young people, put them in a matinee. We'll go have a martini or something, or run some errands and come back and get them. The cool thing is, though, I mean, all these kids in these matinees at least had an audience, of their peers to be watching it with, and maybe to dissipate some of the trauma. I could imagine just watching something like this parked in front of your phone or something, and not having anyone to really relate with what you're looking at and what it might possibly mean.
All right. Giles, any last thoughts before I move on to the next one?
No, actually, I guess I'm most curious now about this still the Kingdom of Crooked Mirrors. The description is on IMDb is interesting. Olia and Yellow save the people of the Looking Glass from lies, and it's just that makes me wonder.
Yeah, I believe that the Kingdom of Crooked Mirrors is a much more serious movie, although low budget, but it's Soviet low budget, so they have an excuse.